بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. So now we continue with the rule of Muslim market. We said that the reason why Muslim market has been recognized as a sign for tazkiyah is not purely a matter of obedience. It's not just ta'abbudi. There is a rational point behind it. And that is, buying from a Muslim market is a sign that you are buying from a Muslim. And then buying from a Muslim is a sign that religious requirements are observed. So there are 2 points, and each of them is something that rationally can be accepted. But in both cases, there is no proof. Yeah, it's min bab al-ghalaba, because the majority of cases in a Muslim market is that the shopkeepers are also Muslims. And the majority of cases with Muslim butchers is that they observe Islamic requirements. So, based on which one comes first, whether it's a matter of Muslim market or a matter of Muslim seller, there can be different, implications. So the author says, if market is not a sign for tazkiyah except because the majority of people who are there are Muslims. So this then would mean that if we have cases that this situation changes and all or majority are not Muslims, buying from a Muslim market is not enough. Imagine you go to a Muslim country that they have so many non-Muslims in a supermarket or in a Muslim market. They're non-Muslim, they sell different types of meat, so that can be then stopped. The issue that we had in the riwayah, especially the second riwayah, was ghalib. The hadith was saying, فَإِنْ كَانَ فِيهَا غَيْرُ أَهْلِ الْإِسْلَامِ, and the answer was إِذَا كَانَ الْغَالِبُ عَلَيْهَا الْمُسْلِمِينَ فَلَا بَأْسَ. If the majority of that land from which this is imported, is brought, are Muslims, so it means if the majority are not Muslims, it will not work. The second part of that question was about another place building or producing this. But it's the same concept. Where this is produced, if it is produced locally, okay. If not, but it's produced in another place that majority are Muslims, it's fine. Then Sheikh Irwani says, if we have Muslim market, but they import some of their leathers or shoes which are from leather from abroad. So Muslim market, but they import leather from abroad, and we know this is from non-Muslim countries. They import from there. And that those who are importing and selling although they are Muslims, but they don't care about this issue. So in this case, you are not able to say we buy just because it's Muslim market, because it's produced in a non-Muslim, and the only way to stop asalatu adam al-tadhkiyah is buying from Muslim. But if this Muslim, you know, it's careless, that's a problem. If you don't know, and there is a possibility that this Muslim has investigated and made sure, that's fine. But if you know that he has been careless, there is a problem. Another issue that he mentions is in a Muslim market, if you are certain that in some shops there is meat which is muzakka, and in some shops there is meat which is not muzakka, it's not Islamically slaughtered, and you are not able to identify which shop sells haram meat, you cannot identify, but in Muslim market there are shops in. So he says, in this case, you have to avoid. You have to avoid because there is haram. If you know that there is haram, if there's a shop that sells haram, then he says, you should not buy from those atraf ilm ijmali. For example, there are 5 butcheries, one of them or 2 of them sell haram. You don't know which one. So you have to avoid because this this certainty that you have brings responsibility, brings obligation. Yes. Atraf ilm ijmali, and it's shubha mahsura. Because what we were trying to use qa'idatu suq al-muslimin for was when you don't know. And we said you don't need to inquire. You don't need to investigate. But if you already know, then you cannot, close your eyes and pretend you don't know. Yeah? You don't need to investigate, but if you already know, then that's the issue. Yes.
I don't know how authentic this incident is, but there's one incident in the life of the Holy Prophet towards the end of his life, when one of the Jew lady called the Holy Prophet and companion for a food.
Yeah.
And they slaughtered animals. What kind of slaughtering was that? Because they were Jews and they called Muslim, include the Holy Prophet.
Maybe she purchased from Muslim market. Maybe she purchased from outside and offered the Prophet. Of course, there is a discussion whether Zabahu Ahl al-Kitab is halal or not. Majority say no, but some may say it's okay. But majority say no. So if we don't accept that Zabahu Ahl al-Kitab is acceptable, then we say she had purchased from outside, knowing that the Prophet would not eat, for example, something which is not Islamically slaughtered, she purchased from outside. Okay. Another thing is, when you buy from a Muslim, you should see that this Muslim is treating this meat or leather as something which is muzakka. For example, he himself is eating this from this meat, or using this meat, selling to Muslims. But if he has a meat and he only gives to animals, for example, to dogs or whatever, or wants to burn it, for example, he has oil from the fat of the animal, but he doesn't use this oil for eating, for cooking. He's using for just burning and producing heat or light. This then shows that this Muslim is not treating this as muzakka. So how can then we use buying from his hand as a sign, as an amara? You understand? So you have to see that he himself is acting as he trusts this is muzakka. Is it clear? The next point is an analysis of how market is accepted as amara, as a sign. So, Sheikh Irwani says it's clear that Muslim market as such is not a sign. Just to be from Muslim market, it's not a sign by itself. So, there must be something more. What is important, as we said, it's when you buy from a Muslim market, you are buying from Muslims. Otherwise, just market as a building or construction doesn't, it's a Muslim or not kafir, It's a matter of who are the sellers. So the main focus is shifted from market to sellers, to shopkeepers. Okay, that's the point. So, if buying from Muslim also was just because he is a Muslim, then this was also not enough. Because, for example, suppose this Muslim is careless. This is not by itself enough. Again, buying from a Muslim is a sign that Islamic requirements for tazkiyah are observed. As we said, so we have two levels of reasoning. From Muslim market, we reason that must be from Muslim seller. And from that, we reason that it must be with Islamic observations, requirements being observed. Okay, then he mentions some possibilities that why we are concerned about this issue of Muslim market and why we are concerned about Muslim seller. If you say the main thing is to be from a Muslim market, then even if the person who has the shop is a non-Muslim, it's okay. Yeah, because market is Muslim market, and perhaps that person, is buying from Muslims and selling here. But if you say that it has to be from a Muslim buyer, then if a kafir has a shop in Muslim market, that would not be enough. Yes? Then there is another possibility. Whether it has to go through a Muslim hand or the last one that you take from him has to be Muslim. So suppose you buy from a Muslim butcher, but you know the supplier is a Muslim. That's also enough. If we say that Muslim hand must be involved. The supplier is a Muslim, and the one that you buy from him is not Muslim. So if you say the main thing is that a Muslim hand must be involved, this is acceptable. But if you say no, the one that you receive from him has to be Muslim, this is not acceptable. Okay? So there are three possibilities. To say market has to be Islamic. The second is that the buyer has to be Muslim. The third is to say Muslim hand must be involved, even if it is not the last hand from whom you have received. In any case, he says, because we have istishabu adam al-tadhkiyah, it's better to remain with qadr mutayaqqan, with the minimum, because the minimum is safe if you want to expand. So the principle is adamut tazkiyah. As much as you are certain it's excluded, you can say it is halal. Otherwise remains under the principle which was haram, adamut tazkiyah. Okay? This is different from other issues. In other issues, we have asalatul tahara, asalatul hilliya. But we said for meat and leather, we have asalatu adam al-tazkiyah. So you have to prove tazkiyah. Okay? You cannot say this meat, inshallah, is kullu shay'in laka tahir. So this, no. For meat, you have to establish tazkiyah. Is it clear? So, if you buy, for example, milk, you don't know whether this milk has become najis, blood has come inside or whatever, they touched it. We say, kullu shay'in laka tahir. But for meat is different. For meat, we have to establish tazkiyah. Okay? So, because the main principle is asalatu adam al-tazkiyah, we have istishab of adam al-tazkiyah, only that much that you are sure, which is excluded, becomes halal. So you have to go for the minimum, qadr mutayaqqan, which is the minimum. And that is when you buy from Muslim seller. This is mutayaqqan. Yeah? Not that you buy from a non-Muslim, but there was one Muslim involved in the chain. Okay? The next issue is, there is no difference between different schools of Islam. It can be from any school of Islam. It doesn't need to be from our own school or from a particular school of non-Shia. Any school of Islam. Why? Because, as you saw, the only thing which was mentioned was suqul Muslimin, not suqul Shia, or not suqul, for example, Shafi'i or suqul Hanafi. Suqul Muslimin, any group of Muslim is accepted. Okay? Even if you go back to history in the time of Imams, we didn't have separate suq. Yeah, it's not that we had a suq for Sunni, a suq for Shia, then in the Sunnis we had different suqs based on mazahib. We didn't have such kind of partitioning. Yes.
These days, the Tesla people, they are selling meat and they write down it's halal.
Yes.
And I think they have some sort of stamps as well. And some of the Muslims, they are buying. So what's the ruling for them? Is that okay?
If you are sure. If you are sure that it is done Islamically, you can. We will talk about also imported materials. Allama Hilli rahmatullah alayh has a kind of disagreement. And he says we cannot accept zeb of all Muslims. Why? Not there is a sectarian issue. Because we know in some schools of Islam, they believe that dhaba'ihu Ahl al-Kitab is okay. So based on their fiqh, so for them it's permissible to buy and sell and eat this type of it. So therefore they may also sell us the same thing. Or for example, some of them believe that if an animal is dead without slaughtering, and you do dabgh, you process the leather, dabgh, dabbaghi, still the leather becomes okay, although it was maita. We don't believe in this, but some of them say this. So he says, because in their own Sharia, there is a possibility of meat, leather being sold because they consider it permissible, or dhabiha of non-Muslim, kitabi. Therefore, Allah says we have problem. If you know that they belong to a mazhab that they permit these things. And some people have tried to also argue from some hadith for this. But these hadiths, inshallah, we will discuss their sanad and dalala, we will discuss. For example, one hadith which is mentioned in support of Allama Hilli's view. Okay? is رواية أبي بصير. قال سألت أبا عبد الله عليه السلام عن الصلاة في الفراء. I asked Imam Sadiq عليه السلام about praying in fira. Fira is the dress which is made with the skin of animal. We had before. Yeah. فقال كان علي بن الحسين رجلا سردا. Imam, according to this hadith, Imam Sadiq says Imam Zainul Abidin was a person who used to feel cold. And the dress which was made in Hijaz from the skin of animal was not enough to keep him warm. لا يدفئه فراء الحجاز. Because the way they, in Hijaz, they used to make it, they used some chemicals that perhaps was making it very thin or not, temperature proof. So according to the hadith, Imam alayhi salam, فَكَانَ يَبْعَثُ إِلَى الْعِرَاقِ. Imam was asking people to buy for him something from Iraq because the way they did dabaghi was different. The way they processed leather was different. Okay? But فَيَلْبَسُهُ, he was putting on this فَإِذَا حَضَرَتِ الصَّلَاةُ أَلْقَاهُ. But when he was praying, he was putting it aside. He was not praying, saying his prayer with that dress which was processed in Iraq at that time. وَأَلْقَى الْقَمِيسَ الَّذِي يَلِيهِ. And he was dropping that shirt that he was putting on. Then he was asked why Imam used to say, according to the hadith, إِنَّ أَهْلَ الْعِرَاقِ يَسْتَحِلُّونَ لِبَاسَ الْجُلُودِ الْمَيِّتَةِ وَيَزْعَمُونَ أَنَّ دَبَاغَهُ زَكَاتُهُ. Says because people of Iraq at that time, because people of Iraq followed, a particular person that, was Sheikh al-Iraqiyin in fiqh. And then, according to him, if you process leather of a maita, an animal which has died or not Islamically slaughtered, it becomes okay. So this hadith, if it is valid, indicates that Imam Sajjad alayhi salam was not saying his prayer in a dress, a leather, for example, or a skin of animal, which is coming from another Muslim market, because those Muslims' fiqhi idea was that even if the leather is from dead animal, it's okay, as long as you do dabbaq, you process it. Okay? We will talk about Dalala and Sanad, yes.
So, is this happening till now? When we trust any Muslim?
No, we don't accept this.
We don't accept this?
No. We say any Muslim is fine. The next hadith is Abdul Rahman ibn Hajjaj. He says, I told Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, إني أدخل سوق المسلمين أعني هذا الخلق الذين يدعون الإسلام. I go to a Muslim market, I see people claim to be Muslims. فأشتري منهم الفراء للتجارة. I buy from them this dress from skin of animals for business, for trade, for tijara. It's not for himself, it's for selling, trade. فأغول لصاحبها. Then I want to sell this to people, and I want to say people that this is mudhakka. Can I say that? I have not done it myself. I have not checked it, but I am buying from Muslims who claim to be Muslims, Muslim market. So, I say to these people, is this zakiyah? so that I can also say my customers that this is zakiyah. فَيَقُولُ بَلَى. They say yes. These people who claim to be Muslim, they say yes, it is zakiyah. فَهَلْ يَسْلَهُ لِي أَنْ أَبِيعَهَا عَلَى أَنَّهَا zakiyah. Can I also sell this and say this is zakiyah? Okay? According to this hadith, Imam said no. فقال لا ولكن لا بأس أن تبيعها. Imam said, you cannot say this is zakiyah, means this has been done properly, but you can sell it وتقول قد شرط لي الذي اشتريتها منه أنها zakiyah. You can sell it, but you can only say the one who sold me sold it on the condition that this is zakiyah. You understand? So you cannot undertake the responsibility and say this is zakiyah, but you can say I purchased from someone who sold me with this condition. Pardon? Yes. This is Abdul Rahman ibn Hajjaj from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. Then he says, why? Why, what's the problem? Why I cannot say that this is? Then according to this hadith, Imam alayhi salam said, استحلال أهل العراق للميتة وزعموا أن دباغ جلد الميتة ذكاته. Imam says the reason is because there are people in Iraq that they believe that there is no problem in processing the leather and skin of animal which is not Islamically slaughtered, and they believe that its tazkiyah is to process it. Okay? Means you can just work on the skin. So, some people on behalf of Allama Hilli have tried to support the idea of Allama Hilli that, look, in these two hadiths, Imam alayhi salam is telling us that it's not every Muslim market. It has to be a Muslim market that has the same understanding about the tadhkiyah like us. Okay? But we say these two hadiths have problem in their sanad and also in their dalala. They don't prove the idea of Allama Hilli because Imam, for example, the first one, even if the sanad is okay, Imam alayhi salam used to drop this dress. This is an action. An action is mujmal. You don't know why. Maybe it was too hot for him. Maybe it was, not difficult for him. Sometimes you have even something clean, a winter, dress. You put it aside. It doesn't mean that Imam was saying this is najis. Or, for example, Imam here says in the second one, you cannot sell it with 100% certainty. You can say, I purchased from Muslim market, I made this condition with them. But you cannot say 100%, I guarantee. Because you are buying based qaida, not based on the proof. So, our conclusion is that it seems you can buy from any Muslim market, even if they follow another madhab, and even if their madhab, their requirements for tazkiyah is different from us. We don't know. This is the way that Ahlul Bayt alayhimu salam have been acting. The last point, because I want to finish this rule, is about something which is coming from a Muslim land but is sold in non-Muslim markets. For example, in a non-Muslim market, you buy something which has the label produced in, he mentions Turkey, produced in Turkey, for example, produced in Iran, produced in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Bangladesh. When the land that produced is mostly Muslims. So Sheikh Irwani says, if you are sure that this is genuine, it's not fake. If you are really sure that this is something produced in a Muslim land, then it's like you are buying from a Muslim market. But if you are not sure, then you cannot just follow this, label or, sign or claim of this non-Muslim seller. If a non-Muslim says, I have purchased this from, for example, Pakistan and imported, or this leather is from Turkey, for example, but you are not sure, you cannot accept. It's different from buying from a Muslim market. But if you are sure that this is from a Muslim land, Muslim market, imported, then he says it's okay. And as you remember, we had this in the hadith that said, لا بأس بالصلاة في الفراء اليماني فيما صنع في أرض الإسلام. صنع في أرض الإسلام is imported from another Muslim land. It's not a problem. Okay. Inshallah, next session we will have قاعدة السلطنة. الحمد لله رب العالمين.